Hi everyone, welcome back to the live presentations at the MU Placement and Internship Virtual Fair. So far we have had our student panel, which was just fantastic. But next up, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Quiva from the Washington Ireland programme, who will be doing a session on LinkedIn. So Quiva, I'll hand over to you for the next 30 minutes.
Perfect, Marie. Thank you so much for welcoming me to Maynooth. Usually I would be on campus meeting all of you. So it's the next best thing to be able to talk you through some really practical skill sets that you're going to be using throughout your life. And there's no better time to get a start on everything to do with your career than right here in college, particularly when you have so many supports like Marie and the rest of the team in the careers department too. So I'm going to be tight for time, I'm sure. So I'm going to try to get through as many things as I can. And this is what our session is going to look like. So quick introductions. My name is Cuivani Boylagan and I am the program manager for the Washington Ireland program. I've worked for WIP for nearly 3 years. And I myself was actually an alumni of the program back in 2016. So I've had a very 360 experience starting in recruitment and coming all the way now to managing all of our programs. So it's great to kind of join you here at this stage. So today's agenda, introductions are finished. I'm going to take you through the LinkedIn session that I have prepared today. I'm then at the end going to touch on WIP and the work that WIP does. And finally, I'll finish up around WIP 22 and the type of applications that we'll be looking at in the coming year. And finally, I'll finish with a Q&A. So if you have any questions or queries throughout, please feel free to write them in the chat function and we'll come to them at the end. Perfect. So LinkedIn, it was originally set up in 2002 and as the stats show you there, it's grown extremely drastically. You know, there's been a number of competitors that have come out throughout the years to rival LinkedIn. However, it's really kind of taken over and kind of dominated the market. So the vast majority of people who are in the workforce today have in some way a LinkedIn profile. You have people like the likes of Bill Gates, you have the people of like your Mark Zuckerbergs, and then you have people who are just starting their kind of career journeys and looking for opportunities on it. People use LinkedIn for various different reasons. So for you yourself, it may be to get a job, it may be to search and find out new and different industries that are available to you once you graduate. It's also used by recruiters. So recruiters use LinkedIn a lot to find people, headhunt them, and get them to join their organization. And then you'll also see a lot of salespeople on them trying to sell, maybe a product they have or an application that might be useful in your organization. So once you begin to navigate LinkedIn, you'll find that there's different types of people using the service for different types. As you may be aware, for some of you who have the profile already, it doesn't cost you anything to set up a free profile. However, for those who are doing sales and recruitment, some of them pay over €1,000 plus per year to use it. There's also a very good tool, and you all may have access through it through your University of LinkedIn Learning, which has a range of different courses on it as well. So if you do have LinkedIn and you are a student, you do qualify for LinkedIn Learning. So that's something to kind of keep in mind, particularly if you're interested in exploring a new sector or getting a taster into things as well. There's also free courses on it as well through LinkedIn Learning and that may help you boost up your CV and your LinkedIn profile. So always worth kind of keeping an eye out for those things as well. So why should you use LinkedIn? As I mentioned, a lot of recruiters use it, be it in recruitment industries or also in-house. I've used LinkedIn a lot to find different students that I believe should apply for our programs and also those community leaders and for guest speakers. I use it quite often. So it's a tool that is very, very useful if you fill out your profile correctly and also for you to kind of navigate and find out more about different industries that you're interested in pursuing after. It's also a great opportunity to build and maintain your network. So, you know, your network starts at home when you think of it. So a lot of the people who are on your college courses at the moment, they're all going to go off and do, you know, very interesting, weird, wild and wonderful things. And it's very important for you to kind of keep in contact with them. A very easy way to do this is through LinkedIn. So connecting with them on their profile, you know, giving them a supportive like, commenting on their things and just kind of finding out where their journey has taken them. You never know where you're going to meet people down the line. I've often come across people who at one stage we were in school together and now they're different managers in different organizations. I've gotten them back to speak to different WIP students. So it's always important to kind of keep connected with different people, and LinkedIn's a very easy way to do that. Also to, find out and learn new things. There's always going to be people who are interested in the same sector as you. So through the hashtags on LinkedIn, you can kind of search them and begin to follow kind of leading figures in that industry, and find out more about the work they're doing or what is coming to the forefront and what the discussions around those themes or issues are. It also gives you a chance to allow you to do kind of recruitment for yourself. If you're trying to, as I mentioned, connect into a particular industry and find out different opportunities that are available, and also allows you to kind of promote yourself. I suppose the big thing about LinkedIn is you kind of become your own brand. So there's a lot of people who publish blogs, who publish articles, and who advertise different events they may be running. I know a lot of you are probably involved in some form of clubs and societies on college. So it's a great way to spread the word and get more people engaged and involved. And then it can contain much more information than a CV. Usually when you write a CV, it's max 2 pages, whereas LinkedIn, you can really tailor it and give a lot more detail around the different activities that you've been doing in current roles or hope to do in current roles in the future. So you can really create your own brand through your profile, and there's some really interesting ways in which you can do that. There's a lot of jobs that are advertised here. A lot of people kind of have use the LinkedIn Easy Apply, which I'll touch on later on in the slideshow, to apply for jobs. They don't even need to send CVs in. They just share their LinkedIn profile, and based on that, people end up getting interviews. People also have the opportunity to headhunt you as well. So I'll touch on that a bit more later in the slide. So there's a lot of reasons why you should use LinkedIn. And fundamentally, it's just going to be very beneficial for you to learn more about the industry that you want to pursue, to learn more from others who are currently in the sector, and also to build up your own brand and to put yourself in the best position to apply for roles in the future. So from fundamentals, so for those of you who may have LinkedIn currently, this will be extremely relevant. And for those who begin to set up your LinkedIn, so one thing I would say is around kind of tidying up your LinkedIn URL. So as you know, my name is extremely long. It's Cuivni Vilagon. So to type that in on LinkedIn, it's going to be extremely difficult. So here's kind of some examples of when you develop your LinkedIn profile, you kind of get these generic numbers and codes that come after your name, whereas through quick edits, you can decrease it down to very kind of simplistic form, and it just makes it easier for you to put it on your CV if you're going to do that, but also if you want to send it on to different individuals who are kind of, if you're recruiting for. So it's very easy to change, and it's something I would recommend, particularly for those who have already set up their LinkedIn profiles or are going to begin setting it up. It may look like something simple, but something simple like this kind of goes a long way, particularly when you have a very long name like myself. I suppose then building your LinkedIn profile. So these are kind of some of the kind of key things I would say if you were to begin building it, or if you've already kind of started it and your LinkedIn is maybe a bit of a shell at the moment. So one thing I would kind of say is around like professional headshots. So I wouldn't necessarily use, your Instagram image or, whatever you have on your Facebook or TikTok. At this moment in time, it's a really great opportunity for you to reach out to the likes of, your photo soc in the college or your media production society, to take a quick headshot, or even in a nice plain background. You could do it in your house up against a wall, to just kind of show like a professional picture. Make sure to kind of have your face fairly clear, and not kind of a group photo or anything like that. So what we're really bringing to LinkedIn is this kind of professional view and building up your own brand. So if you don't have a headshot already, just, you can get someone to take it on your phone. But I would reach out, I'd say, to your local DCU photosoc or your photosoc or your multimedia society to see if they're going to do something around this. Usually each year they kind of do something like this, but it might be worth considering. But start simple, take it on your phone, just take it of your face similar to that of a passport, and then you're kind of good to go there. When you get into your LinkedIn profile, there's an about me section, and I'd say make sure that you include the type of either information about yourself if you're currently looking for a role, that you're currently studying a particular course, that your interests lie in XYZ. Many of you may have like part-time jobs or have done previous internships, and I would be sure to kind of include them in the opening piece of your LinkedIn profile. It just gives the recruiter a sense of who you are straight off the bat, and doesn't necessarily mean that they need to kind of continuously scroll down. So the more information that they can get from the start, the most important. Then, as I mentioned, the first few lines are about, the company, if you're interested in exploring, or about yourself. But be considerate of the length. You're not going to have a recruiter scrolling for ages through your profile. So make sure that the key information you want them to know is snapshotted at the beginning of your profile. Another really exciting thing about LinkedIn is you have an opportunity to add media. So this is like, your photos, your videos, links to some maybe Instagram reels you've done, your TikToks, whatever it may be. But it's a chance for an employer to get a kind of a snapshot image of what you've been involved in. When I was in college, I was heavily involved in a charity society. So if you were to go on my LinkedIn today, you'd see photos of some of the different initiatives I was involved in. If I had won an award, I'd have a picture of that up. But it just gives the recruiter like a better sense of the type of person that they're going to be engaging with. So obviously everyone's media is going to be a bit different, but if you have any, be it an event flyer or poster, be sure to include that, because that's going to make your profile stand out a bit more to someone who doesn't have any of those things. Also, I'd make sure like that your information reflects your CV. So I touched on that LinkedIn offers you a more opportunity to kind of elaborate on the work you've done in the role, but make sure it reflects that, so that if someone is looking at your CV and then clicks into your LinkedIn profile, that you didn't leave out one of the roles that you were in, that you didn't leave out some volunteering opportunity you may have taken, or you didn't leave out maybe a course you did or a qualification. So just make sure that both of them reflect each other, and that you're kind of constantly making sure that your CV and LinkedIn are both updated to the same standard. I'd make sure you don't neglect either of them. A big thing is around your keywords, and these are the keywords that will help you get searched. And I'm going to touch on these now in a second, but it's very important when you are you're going through your profile to make sure that you put in those keywords, so that if a recruiter wants to search for a particular skill set or a particular software like your Adobe suites, that your profile is highlighted. So be very conscious of how you fill out your CV and those kind of key action words that you put into it. Harvard has a list of kind of key action words for CVs, and if you search that in Google, it will come up straight away. But these are, words that are will make your CV and LinkedIn profile stand out a bit more and make you a bit more easily searchable. But I'll touch on this now in a second. So what are they and how do I use them? So I'm going to give you an example of why keywords are important. So as you can see on this particular profile, the intern works for Dog Day Media. So most of you may have, you may work for, your local corner shop or your local restaurant, and they may not necessarily have a presence on LinkedIn. So when I initially look at this profile, I'm kind of wondering, I don't have much detail about the organization. I don't really know what they did. They were there for 3 months. So that's really all I can kind of tell about this particular person's role. What I'd be really conscious of is making sure that if you work for an organization, to search them. So LinkedIn has an opportunity for you to type in an organization you're working with. And for the vast majority of them, they have an official LinkedIn profile themselves. So it means that you can highlight who you've worked for. The recruiter has the ability to click into their official site and learn more about that organization as a whole, find out who also works there. So this just looks a bit more professional than the initial piece that was done by this particular person. So even just by searching and making sure that you have the right organization filled in, it makes your profile stand out that bit more. So let's see how we push that a bit further. So another thing that the person would have forgotten is around, giving us information and writing down what is like Dog Day Media. So once again, It's kind of a very brief elevator pitch of what they've done. And it just gives a recruiter a bit more of an insight into the type of work that you were working on in this role. So once again, if we compare it to the initial example, this one is like without doubt a lot stronger. And it just makes the recruiter much more confident in saying to the person that they're recruiting for that this person has X, Y, Z skills, that this is an acknowledged organization in the industry, and this is probably someone you may want to go with. But how do we push that forward a bit more? So we're going to kind of look at the keywords in the next piece. So it's important when you're filling out your different roles that you've done, in any role you go on to do in the future or ones previously, is to write down what your duties in the role included. And like that, here we have, researching client backstories, end-to-end recruitment, pitching storylines, assisting in setup and design. So the recruiter is very confident of the different skills you have and confident in knowing the different types of work you've been involved in and identifying, is this relevant to the role that they are recruiting for? Like that, if we compare it to the initial one, it is like quite a stark contrast. But we're going to kind of zoom in a bit more on these kind of key words that that a recruiter will be looking for, and particularly if they begin to search types of people that they want for these roles. So the keywords of media production, commercial film, animation, online, researching clients, mood boards, TV adverts, casting agencies, pitching, set design. These are the keywords that should be included and allow it to make the recruiter's life much easier but when they search, because they'll be searching using these keywords to find people who are relevant and qualified for the role. So once again, we compare it to the initial example. They're probably not going to get the job because there's too much kind of ambiguity around what they did. However, for this person who's given a detail of who they work for, who's given a detail of their roles and included those keywords, they're more likely to be highlighted to the recruiter when they begin their search. So that's why keywords are important. So take your time to fill out each of your roles, and it's not enough to just have the organization you work for. It's very important to give a background to them and to give an insight into the roles and duties that you carried out in those places. So why are they important? Setting up a LinkedIn profile without ensuring your keywords are prominently included is like setting up a Tinder profile without adding pictures in a bio. So it's so relevant, and it's very important when you're on LinkedIn to make sure you're covering your bases and giving yourself the best opportunity to like that get your match and meet a potential recruiter or employer that you want to work for. So another big thing, I suppose, it's important to kind of obviously detail your qualifications. So the key information is about you, highlight your individual skills, and can be used as an alternative to Boolean search strings. So I'll touch on the Boolean search strings, and this is how recruiters use LinkedIn to find candidates, but it's also an opportunity for you to find other LinkedIn profiles who are in the similar industry to you and working in organizations that you may potentially want to work in. It gives you an opportunity to kind of connect in with those already there and ask them about their roles and how they find it, what their duties are, and to see if you would be a good fit for those organizations. So following on for why they're important, it's how recruiters and employers and networkers find you. So as I mentioned, this can be used both ways. It can be used for them to find you, but it can also be used for you to find people who are working in sectors or industries that you're interested in. So the Boolean search string works like this. So if you're trying to find a job, if a recruiter is trying to find people to work at a job in Dublin, they'll write in Dublin, and then they'll in commas write recent graduate, and in commas production or TV production or radio production, and a runner or researcher, and current affairs and not film. This will highlight the person in Dog Media's profile. They'll come up to the forefront of that highlighter. So you have to be very conscious around what type of information you want to provide that will make you as easily searchable as possible. So it's worth reflecting on that and using the Boolean searches yourself to try see what types of people come up, having a look at their LinkedIn profiles and seeing if there's anything that you can incorporate from their profiles into yours. So that's the thing. You don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel on this, There are people who've, really fleshed out their own profiles. So you can learn from them by using the Boolean search. So if you type in Boolean search on Google, it will come up and show you. But it's heavily used by recruiters. I use it a lot to find students that I think are going to be eligible for our program. So worth seeing who's currently doing it. Is there anything you can take? And what do you want a recruiter to see when they come onto your profile, I suppose, are the big key things. Another thing is around recommendations. So a lot of you would kind of already have worked with many people in group projects in college or in your current roles, or, throughout time in school. There's probably, people you've worked with in GA clubs, whatever it may be, and that could probably give you a recommendation around working with you. What you'll see in LinkedIn is there's loads of skills. So skills like public speaking or, networking, recruiters don't take much heed in them because it's just kind of a quick like. You don't actually have to do anything strenuous to give someone a like on public speaking or networking or organizational management. So, it's nice to have, but it's not going to make a recruiter, it's not going to stand out to a recruiter as much. But one thing that does are the recommendations, because they take time and effort. They're publicly endorsing you. So whoever is writing the recommendation, they would probably know you and they're putting themselves out there. And particularly if you have anyone kind of like that, your boss or your line manager, it's important to kind of get significant people who've worked with you to write a recommendation. People often ask, like, how can I get someone to write a recommendation? And what I would say is outreach to them. The biggest thing, and I hope you take away from this, is if you don't ask, you'll never know. And the worst thing anyone can say to you is no around anything in life. And what I would do is reach out to those people you've worked with previously. Ask them, would they mind taking 5 minutes to write a response around a project you may have worked on, or working with them in a role, whatever it may be. Just take 5 minutes to write it up on LinkedIn. That you'd be very grateful, and you would be amazed at the amount of people who will write back to you and say, yes, of course. They'll whip up something quite quickly, but it has a significant impact, because then it's a very quick way for a recruiter to look at references, basically, around the type of work and what it's like to work with you, how you participated in the project. And even if you have a very good rapport and relationship with these people, you may, give them, pointers on what you would like to be included, or what particular elements of the project or role you'd want to be touched on. So if I was you and I was setting up my profile tomorrow, I would make sure to spend more time on the recommendations than I would on the kind of skills section of the quick likes that you can get, because fundamentally this is going to stand out more to employers than anything else. Another big thing why people use LinkedIn is, as I said, is the job search. So if you ever see a job in multinational companies going up, or even organizations that are down the road from you all in Maynooth, a lot of them will use LinkedIn. And the reason is because of the kind of easy and apply. So this allows you to just share your profile directly with the hiring manager, for them to review it, and then for them to offer you an interview. You can also see how many people have applied for the role. But I find like the job search piece on LinkedIn like very interesting. One thing I would say is, if you're interested in pursuing a role after you finish in Maynooth, I would begin kind of looking at the job engine now. It allows you to also like kind of pinpoint what particular location you're looking to work in, but also it gives you an opportunity to look further afield. So if you wanted to work in a role over in the States, in Canada, in Australia, in Europe, you can kind of begin to search through that. It also picks up on an algorithm and identifies and highlights some roles that may be of interest to you. You can filter down to entry-level roles, graduate roles, obviously, but I think a great opportunity for you all is to look at those kind of mid to senior level roles and see what qualifications that they're looking for. And it's basically an opportunity for you to kind of pinpoint what particular direction you would like to go in afterwards, and give you a chance to it gives you a chance to think of, apologies, I'm tight for time, I know. It gives you an opportunity to look at what type of roles you'd want to go into kind of after college, but also give you a trajectory of how people have, if you want to be a manager in 5 years' time, what type of qualifications and skills you'd have to develop over those times. So it's very easy, it's very good, and it's something I would definitely consider. So here's the general points on it. Make sure to keep your profile up to date. Keep an online presence. So like that, be it liking and commenting under other people's LinkedIn profiles, making sure that your CV and LinkedIn both reflect one another, making sure to use keywords to make you more accessible to recruiters who are hiring. And then consider putting your email address in the description. So if that, like that, they want to contact you directly around a role, that they can contact you by email. Also, yeah, like that, once you publish on LinkedIn, once you edit, you can turn off publishing it to everyone. So be conscious that if you include a new role, everyone will be notified unless you turn that option off. Yeah, and just time to get ready for applying for your next role. There's massive amounts of things I could say on LinkedIn, but this is a whistle-stop tour on it. It's a fantastic tool, and I hope if you haven't set one up already, that you go on to. There's fantastic YouTube tutorials as well around setting up your profile, so I'd really recommend having a look at them. So very quickly, I have 5 minutes left, and I know Marie is going to keep me very close to time. So a little bit about the Washington Ireland programme and what we do. So we were founded in 1995, and our roots are in the peace process, bringing Catholics and Protestants from Northern Ireland over to Washington DC to have a shared common experience. Obviously, since then, the world has changed, and we've now expanded our program and programs in general to run 6 programs around young leaders, emerging leaders, and community leaders. So it's a leadership development program. Our vision is for a peaceful and prosperous Northern Ireland that is mutually supportive with constructive relationships. And our mission is to develop, support, and engage the next generations of leaders who can build and sustain these relationships. So these people are you. We are looking for the next generation of leaders, and that's why I'm here today, to speak to you all as well. Perfect. So as you can imagine, in COVID, we used to bring everyone over to Washington, DC and New York. But obviously, since the pandemic, we've had to run our programs online. And this year we will be running a hybrid program. So I want to give you an insight into the types of people that we are looking for. We're looking for people with passion, with new ideas and approaches to writing a better future for Ireland and Northern Ireland. A lot of you who are engaging in these types of conversations in the virtual career fair are very active and engaged on campus. And those are the types of people that we want involved in WIP. It may be through, your clubs and societies, your organizations, whatever it may be, but we are looking for you. So this year, WIP in 2021, what we did for the first time ever was we opened up the opportunities to people in part-time courses. So there are maybe some of you who are doing part-time degrees who are now eligible for our program. The visa restrictions didn't allow us for part-time students, but now we have the opportunity to bring them aboard. We also, for the first time, had people in VTAC courses participate in our programs. We had people with caring responsibilities. We had people with disabilities. And we expanded our program drastically. We had over 100 students engage in our program last year. We hope to continue to expand our program in the hybrid world, and also kind of catch up on those who didn't get an opportunity to go over to the US in 2020 or 2021. So who are we looking for? There's kind of 4 key pillars that we look for when we look for a WIP student. Leadership potential, I suppose, is one of the biggest ones. And leadership comes in many forms. It isn't necessarily that you're the chairperson of X, Y, or Z club or society. It could be your leader in your home. It could be your leader in the classroom, supporting students and, helping them with their exams. It could be you have caring responsibilities and you have a family or a parent that needs caring. You could be a leader in the community. You could be actively engaged in, a local community group. Leadership takes many forms, and we're interested in hearing from any person who's gone on a leadership journey. Another big thing is a commitment to service. We believe that leaders, through action and through service show leadership the most. And once again, similar to leadership, it can take many different forms. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're out volunteering or running a soup run with St. Vincent de Paul every week. It could simply be you're giving grinds to a fellow student. you like that have caring responsibilities. You could be involved in a local community group, your local tidy towns, whatever it is. We look for people who have committed to service and giving back to others in one way or another. It doesn't need to be anything drastically big, but that's something we really, really value on the program. Another core thing is dealing with difference. We select students who inherently disagree with you from a wide range of backgrounds with very different views and opinions, and it's one of the only instances in your life where you'll be taken out of your echo chamber and bubble and challenged on your views. So we want people to engage with these ideas and meet students who don't necessarily come from the same backgrounds, but fundamentally you learn a lot through that engagement. And maturity is a big piece. We want to make sure that the students who are engaging in these programs are mature enough to engage in this dialogue and mature enough to be aware that they are going to be challenged on some issues that are inherently that they inherently agree are right, but are open to challenging them through the conversations and dialogues that we have. So the program breakdown is structured like this. We have a work placement with the US organization that every student will participate in. And these took the form of consultancy style projects last year. And I'll touch on some of the organizations in a sec. We do speaker sessions with global leaders, ranging from this year we had Jake Sullivan, Joe Biden's national security advisor, Jenna Molly-Dillon, his deputy chief of staff, to business leaders like Adrian Jones, who's one of the head people in Goldman Sachs in New York. So we have a wide range of speakers from a wide variety of backgrounds to speak with you all. We do debates and discussions on very challenging topics to get you to understand that not everyone agrees with you and how do you come to consensus. We develop out with papers, which are innovative solutions to some of the most challenging questions facing our island. And then similarly to the LinkedIn session, we do professional skills workshops with our alumni for all of our WIP students. So some of our speaker highlights I touched on a bit. They're all fantastic, but I don't have enough time to go through them all. But there's a high caliber of speakers. And similarly as well, with the work placements, we have the Holocaust Museum, the Human Rights Commission, Wayflyer, Embassy. They're all extremely quite high profile, and that we hope to partner with some more this year as well. So the eligibility criteria, which a lot of people will be interested in, for the first time, we can have full and part-time students. All you need to be is over the age of 18, that you're fit and healthy to participate, and that you're available to attend our in-person events in Northern Ireland and Ireland. It's going to take place for 4 weeks this summer on the island or remotely, wherever you may be, and we'll do in-person engagements throughout. We're going to bring then hopefully the participants who come through the program away to Washington and New York next year. We have a backlog of students from the past 2 years, so we'll hope to bring this group away. So this is kind of nearly a prep course to going abroad. The cost piece, we never want cost to be a barrier to participation. So if you can't afford to participate, we will cover the cost. So the biggest thing is around self-selection and saying, yes, I am a leader. Yes, I do want to engage with people of difference. I may not be able to afford it, but WIP will cover that cost for you all. But for those who can, it's €165 and £150. Perfect. So our applications are going to launch very shortly at the end of October. And there's kind of 3 stages to the application. Self-selection. So a lot of people have a lot of self-doubt around it and don't necessarily that they believe they are the person for the role. But what we have to say is you have to challenge yourself and say, yes, I am that person. And you need to, if you're not in it, you can't win it. So I would always say, please do apply. And even if you don't get it this year, you'll get it next year. So keep applying and have that positive attitude around it. Our application will be an online application. And the best thing about it is grades do not come into consideration around it. We don't want to know if you're the top of your class. We don't want to know what your GPA is. What we want to know is about you, your life, your journey, your experiences, what you're passionate about, what makes you you. And that is what we are interested in. So it's a very kind of personal application. And I know I'll kind of call back with Manute next month to have a deeper conversation on this. Then following the application, we'll shortlist by the end of December, and then we'll do our interviews in January. So last year they took the form of video interviews. So hopefully we'll get to do some video interviews this year as well. So I know we're very tight for time, Marie, but if anyone has any questions that don't get answered, which I don't think they will, please do just send me an email. I'm Marie, I'm sure will share my contact details, but I'm also at the stand for WIP if anyone wants to have a further chat or arrange a one-to-one call.
Caoimhe, thanks so much for that presentation. And a couple of questions came in on the Graduate Land platform just in relation to LinkedIn. If they have just knocked off the screen. Apologies, they just got knocked off. But I think that anyone who had a question, maybe it's a case of popping along to the Washington Ireland stand. But I know there was a couple of questions around LinkedIn. Students were asking whether they should reach out to recruiters themselves and what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think definitely recruiters are always looking to fill roles. So like that, the vast majority of recruiters will give you a call. We'll talk through your CV, your experience to date, and maybe give you an insight into what you can do between now and finishing up in college to put yourself in the best position possible. So like that, if it's taking an Excel course, if it's taking, you know, an evening course in whatever it may be, or like that, getting voluntary experience, that may be the difference between securing a role with them or not. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think if students aren't ready to do that on LinkedIn today, there are plenty of different HR managers, program managers on the fair today who are just waiting to hear from you. So send them a chat, ask them the question. And I think, Caoimhe, hopefully you'll get lots of questions about the Washington Ireland program because it sounds just fantastic. And some really useful tips and guidance shared there on LinkedIn. It was brilliant to hear. I learned some things myself, so it was great. Really appreciate it. And that presentation was recorded, so we will share it afterwards. But I'd just like to take this moment to thank you so much, Caoimhe. Everyone pop along to the Washington Ireland stall if you have the opportunity. And next up, we will have an alumni panel with different people that were once students here in Maynooth and are now out in the world of work. So that'll be starting at 2:15. Thanks so much, Caoimhe.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Marie. Have a lovely day, everyone. Bye.